Hello. I work on audio and video technology a lot, and some time ago I was trying to dismantle one of these extremely small cassettes, and I was struggling to have the right kind of screwdriver for that. And it was actually a viewer of the channel who very kindly sent me this fantastic Ifixit tool set, which I use regularly now for this sort of precision work. But look what we've discovered in LIDL. It's a precision bit kit, and interestingly, if you look through the contents of this, it appears to be almost identical to the Ifixit kit. This is about £35 and this is £6.99. Interesting. Let's have a look at this and see if it's good. So here are the two sets. So the Ifixit set has a pretty good description here of the tools it includes. Everything from Phillips and flathead and torque security, pentalobe, hex, tri-point, square and game bit, spanners and triangles. A good selection amounting to a total of 64 pieces. The little Parkside one, the English translation here, if you go through it, appears to be virtually identical. Occasionally they've called things different things, but they are the same quantity, same sizes and same parts as the Ifixit kit. Adding up though to a total of 66 pieces, so it actually has a couple more items in here. Right, so let's compare them. They appear to be pretty much the same size. Is this a rip-off of the Ifixit kit? It seems too much of a coincidence that it has precisely the same description of parts, and it's even laid out in the same way. All our parts here on the Ifixit kit are labelled up, so underneath each of these slots is the part that it contains. And you have a decent size handle and an extension bar for that. There's a magnetic lid for it, which is a good idea. That holds it all nicely in place. Which has picked up a screw. Let's go to that. And I think the idea is also that when you're working on something that's fairly stable. I suppose you could say it rocks a little bit, but it's reasonably stable, and you can put the parts you're working on, these little screw items that you're dismantling from, say, a phone or some other device, onto here to keep them organised. But it does kind of rock. Now let's look at the equivalent from little Parkside. I'm having a bit of trouble opening it. It's not quite as satisfying as the Ifixit kit. Oh dear, how am I supposed to open that? You kind of need a toolkit to open it. I'm really struggling to open this thing. I don't want to rip the box up, but I think that's what's going to have to happen. I just can't open it. Okay, we have a warranty here, which I'm wondering, what do they actually warranty? That things won't break? If anything has a manufacturing fault, that may or may not really mean much, because in the event that you over torque something and break something, I don't suppose they would help you. Right, so this also has a magnetic lid. This one sits much flatter, actually. In that respect, it's better. But is it so well designed in terms of being able to keep all your parts separate? These come in handy, I think, because if, for example, you have a phone, you put different screws into different places and you can kind of lay a map out of where everything is, so you don't put screws in the wrong places. Here they're going to tend to sort of roll around a little bit, but I prefer it being flatter. The layout is subtly different. The handle and the extension bar here both on the same side. Let's just see how that feels compared to the Ifixit one. So they're both designed so you can hold something, put a finger on there or there, and rotate the work through it. Is it wobbling a little bit? Yeah, the Parkside one, something's not very straight here. It's got a bit of a wobble to it. Let's just compare that to the Ifixit. Similarly, actually, it also has a little bit of a wobble to it. But after all, this is a flexible part. The flexibility, I do feel a difference there. This is more flexible. So the Ifixit one has a bit more give in that. For a similar amount of force, let's see which one, the Parkside or the Ifixit one. Yeah, clearly the Parkside one is much stiffer. The Ifixit one will make a better bend around something. So I'd give that a win to the Ifixit one there. Also, the Ifixit one's slightly longer. But yeah, I think if you need to get around an awkward bend, you're going to be a lot happier with the Ifixit kit. That's really not going to achieve much rotation there at all. Interestingly, it says that the flexible extension is for clockwise use only on the Parkside one. It doesn't say that on the Ifixit kit. Okay, what I'll do is I'll set you up looking down on these so you can have a look at them in a bit more detail. I've just picked up the smallest Philips item here, PH000, and immediately it's become obvious to me that they are different. The actual angles on the tip of the drive are not the same. So yes, I was going to just set you up with the camera looking down on these, but I'm inclined to, in a moment, have a look at these under the microscope, because I'm seeing something really different, and it's a case of which one's right. It's easy just to assume the expensive kit is right and the cheap one is wrong, but the angles are very much different on those two. I was just looking at the Torx 25H, so the tamper-proof ones with a hole in the middle, and you can see quite clearly that the size of the hole is different between these two parts. The one on the cheaper kit is actually smaller. That might be done for reasons of giving it more strength, but presumably, I mean, you'd hope they've done their work on the specifications, because if the pin was larger than that, then this bit would fit and that wouldn't, and you wouldn't be able to drive it. Looking at the T10H size, the hole is actually, I'd say, smaller on the Ifixit one. So, well, let's hope that they're both within specification. Okay, on this kit here, I'm looking through the T something H ones. We've got T10H there, and then taking a leap up here, we go T8H. But where's T9? That goes down to 7, so I'm not seeing where 9 is. That's confusing. Alright, so what both manufacturers have done is only provided the hole, the security ones, on the larger sizes of the Torx bits. So we have T2345 without the hole, and then from 6 up to 25 with the hole, with the Ifixit kit. And similarly here with Parkside, T2345, and then with the hole 6, 7, 8, 9 up to 25. But 9 is simply not there. Come on, where is it? So they're in an oddball place, quite hard to find. But what's happened here to Torx 2? No, that's definitely a fail, that. I mean, that is hopelessly bent. Look at the state of that. Let me show you that against a surface. You can see it. No, that's not going to work for anybody, is it? So how did that get through quality control? I think that's bad enough that I can return the kit, actually, and say that you've just messed up. That piece is no use to anybody. I'm just shocked that that got through quality control. I know it's only a cheap set, but I mean, how can you... they must have some sort of machine inspection of the parts, you'd have thought, as they're manufactured, and somehow that got through inspection. So I would have to say that the layout of the parts on the bed here is not as good here. We've got these random ones at the top, and we've just discovered a complete and total fail of one of the parts there. Okay, let's keep going, see what else there is to know. I have to say that I think the lettering is a little clearer on the bed of the Ifixit one, but neither are that great, to be honest. They could have used some sort of overlay with clearer lettering on it, because it's quite hard to read on both of them, the markings when they're just sort of pressed into foam. This part here, I think, is the one that's for popping a SIM card out. Yes, it's marked SIM, and it's similarly hopelessly bent. That might still just about function, whereas the Torx part, which was bent, it won't function at all. If I tried to straighten it out, I'd probably snap it. So again, you know, where's the quality control? Let's have a look at the same part on the Ifixit. And there's the same part on the Ifixit, which also is, you know, is not perfectly true, is it? There's a hint of bentness to it. Yeah, I'd say that's acceptable, but yeah, it's not perfect. Both kits have a part that is described as standoff for iPhone. On the Parkside one, it's marked W2.0, and the Ifixit one's not marked anything at all. They do look somewhat different. There's a much more pronounced pin on the Parkside one, and it's somewhat smaller. Which of these is the better quality or the better fit? I don't know. I'm glad to say I've never had to encounter whatever horrible component this is designed to drive, but they are significantly different. Just looking here at the 2.5mm flat blade from the Parkside, and it does seem to be quite ridged. It looks a little bit rough on the edge. It wouldn't stop it being perfectly usable, but it just seems to lack a sort of precision feel to that. The same part on the Ifixit kit just looks a bit better machined. Let's take a look at some of these under the microscope in a little bit more detail. I'm going to look here at the T9 piece from Parkside, and it looks like the security hole in the middle is off-center on that one. Whereas if you compare that to the Ifixit one, same part, T9, well, the hole's smaller, which may or may not be correct, but it's certainly much more central. It looks like a better built part. In case you didn't see it clearly earlier, there's our sad little Torx 2 part, which, oh dear, really isn't going to be of any use, is it? Looking at the Parkside components, they're not all the same colour, so presumably they have a slightly different manufacturing process, because the ones on the left there have a slightly gold tinge to them, and the ones on the right are more of a silver colour. I'm just going to compare a couple of parts here. The one on the bottom here is the LIDL one, so that's a Torx 3, and I think you can see there's a certain amount of sort of ridges on the finish there of the tool. I don't know if that would make a difference, but you can certainly see the finish there. And let's compare it to the Ifixit one. So the Ifixit one has more of a slightly golden colour to it, and the finish is still fairly rough at this sort of microscopic level, but looks a little bit more consistent. Comparing these two parts side by side, these are both T3. So the one on the right is the LIDL Parkside, and the one on the left is Ifixit. And you can kind of see, I think, I imagine that's marks from where it's cut on the right hand side, where it's been in a lathe presumably. You can see the lathe marks. So maybe that was rushed a little bit, giving that somewhat lined appearance compared to the Ifixit one on the left, which is just feels a little bit more finished. Also, the shank of the Ifixit one is of uniform diameter all the way along, whereas the Parkside one, it seems to be thinner in the middle, which presumably could make it a weaker point. And end on, these two parts actually look to be a somewhat different size, and you can see that the Parkside one looks like it's actually smaller. It doesn't seem to have quite the fill in it that the Ifixit one on the left does. So I think it's fair to say that a lot of the Parkside ones don't really have the precision that the Ifixit ones do. But does it matter? Well, I'm not going to overstress any of these. I'm not going to put them under massive load and see which one fails first. But what I will do is try dismantling some very small things. A quite small video cassette. It's micromv. I've featured this on YouTube before. Let's see if we can take the screws out with both of these kits. Now, being Japanese, these are probably JIS screws. They're supposed to have a little dot on them, but at this size they probably don't. So let's see if we can find JIS, the smaller size JIS screwdriver in both of them. Okay, we have J000 here from the Ifixit kit. One of the challenges can be to have a shaft that's thin enough to fit down to reach a screw in this sort of product. Okay, it feels like it's got a good grip on the screw. I think it's not just going to come out. And that's done a good job of taking that screw out. Did it come out a little bit? I think you can see a little tiny bit of damage to the screw. Maybe it wasn't JIS. Maybe it was the smallest Phillips size. Well, that also fits nicely, so it's difficult to know which is the correct part to use for that. I think actually that's done less damage to the screw. I think in the end I've decided that the best fit was JIS 00 is the best fit for these screws. That feels really like it belongs there, so get plenty of torque on it without coming out. So that is, I think, the screwdriver size I'll try on the other kit, J00. So going to the Parkside, we'll try J00. And we'll use a screw that we've not touched so far. Oh, well that's, no, that's just horrible. That's not working at all. But it doesn't mean that it's a bad screwdriver part. It's just not the right size potentially. That's just not right. Let's try the J000 then. No, that's completely not right either. That is spinning around on it. So, okay, we'll try the smallest Phillips sizes then. So PH 000. No, that's not going to fit either. What are we doing wrong here? Next size up on the Phillips. P00. No. So which is the right bit for this video cassette on the Parkside little one? I'm going to try that again. The J000. Surely that's got to be the right one. If the J00 is too big, surely it's got to be the J000. It's just not a fit at all. Well, I'm getting a little bit frustrated now, because if I was relying on this kit to do this precision work, I'd be stuffed. Nothing will fit it. Okay, I'm not going to be able to take the screws out of this cassette using the Parkside kit. For that, I really have to use the Ifixit kit. Now, I tell you, when I started this, I fully expected to say that this is not the same quality, but good value for money, and get one for $6.99. I'm not going to say that at all. I'm sorry, it's inadequate. Don't even bother. The Ifixit kit costs several times more, but is in so many ways vastly superior. And I wouldn't want to dismantle any precision items such as a phone with this. You're in danger of chewing up the screws. So no, sorry. I'll leave an Amazon affiliate link in the description below for the Ifixit kit. If you get that with that link, it earns us a few pennies, which is nice. Right, I'll do plenty more content, especially on audio and video technology, in the near future. Bye for now. Oh, thanks for watching right to the very end. On this channel, we tend to cover a lot of interesting audio and video equipment. So maybe come and join us. Look, not just very small tapes and the equipment for them, but also very big tapes, like this big professional tape. Or how about very old tapes like this? These go back to around about 1972. Or very popular tapes. Or very rare and unusual ones. And that's the sort of thing we love on this channel. So do come and join us.